Hey there, everybody. We're on learning card number 5, literal equations. And so I want to walk you through this. This is the last part of Unit 1, at least for our curriculum. If you're following along at home, this may be somewhere else, but hopefully you're finding it useful. Couple very, very basic things. Most of you, as we went through this, found out that literal equations isn't really any harder than regular equations. Literal equations just have more than one variable. And so it's going to look a lot like formulas. You can see the two examples we're going to do here. First one has x and y. The second one actually has a, b, and c. There's nothing different. You're just going to solve for it. It's just that your answer is not going to be a nice number. It's just a nice clean number. And let's face it, not all the times the numbers are clean. You can do fractions and messy decimals and all of that. You're just going to have variables inside of it. The reason why we do it is just for that reason. You're going to make something easier to solve for. The process of solving a literal equation is the same process as solving a regular equation. And so you're still going to go through and distribute things, and then you're still going to combine like terms if you need to. But most of the time, those two things you don't have to worry about very much. And then you're going to go through and isolate the variable, and then you're going to solve for the variable. The bonus here is there's less, and I'm going to put this in air quotes because I'm probably going to get, there's less actual math that's going on. And just meaning, all you're doing is just simplifying stuff. So you're not going to actually multiply stuff out because you're going to have 2 times a, or, p times 5. And it's just going to stay that way. You don't actually have to do the calculation. So that's why I put actual math in quotes. So you're just going to simplify it. So let's go through these 2 examples here. Again, obviously, pause whenever you need to if I'm going too fast. Now, when you're doing some of this stuff, I've got this pro tip written down here. Keep unlike terms separate. It helps with the accidental combining. What I mean by that, don't write this down, just watch, is that so here I'm solving for y. And actually, it's not a bad idea. Some people, one of my students did this, I think, kind of on her own. He was like, okay, I'm solving for y. If I can get the highlighter to work. And so they marked where y was. And that was just to kind of keep, okay, that's what I'm going for. It's to kind of keep an eye on, separate where the target is, which is kind of a cool idea. Anyway, so don't do what I'm about to do. What ends up happening, actually, I'll use my magic super pen there. Where is it? Magic pen. So sometimes what people do is they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to subtract off the 3x. I'm going to minus the 3x. And they put it directly below the other number. And what happens then is they get the minus 4y here. And even my best students sometimes will be tempted and go like, oh, it's negative 9x. And no, it's not. You can't combine 12 and negative 3, okay? Negative 3x, it just doesn't work. And so the pro tip here is, while it may take up more time, what I would recommend, and now this is would be where you can resume writing, is that when you subtract 3x over here, write the 3x offset here, so you're not lining them up. So when you do that now, I get the negative 4y. Don't forget the negative. Lots of people do. But now I can keep the 12 minus 3x separate because, again, they're not like terms. If they're not like terms, you can't combine them. Don't do it. At least when you're adding and subtracting, right? So now notice this would be an example here. So this right here is an example of a place where it's simplified. You can't do anything else. There's no actual math involved, and that actually throws some people. So what you're going to end up doing here is I'm going to say divide through by negative 4. Now, depending upon what your teacher is asking you to do, I tend to teach it where you divide each separate part separately. And the reason why I do that is this, so that it's going to look nice and clean. So I can do the 12 divided by negative 4 and get negative 3. The negative 3 over negative 4 is going to simplify down to 3/4 x. And that would be one answer there. Okay, so actually that's the second part down there, I guess. From me, divide each part individually. Now, some teachers would say, so I'm going to show this way too, you could also do this, and then they would have you go through and divide everything through by negative 4. The reason why I don't do this, and I will explain myself here. So sometimes your answers may look like that. is that I found when people go to simplify this, they only divide it only into the 12, and they forget to merge it into the negative 3x as well. So that's why I find that if I say divide everything individually, that works out better. So again, personal preference. As always, with any boss that you have, you should defer to what they tell you. So if your teacher's telling you that, that might be a better way to go. Now, for example, number 2, same idea. We're solving for b. Now, this one's a little different because we have more than 2 variables here. So we're going to have more of that kind of filtering its way through. Again, subtract off the 2a from both sides. So again, notice I'm lining up the 2a here separate. So again, they're not lined up, so I don't accidentally combine them. And I know what you're thinking. I would never do that. Yeah, lots of people say that. Unfortunately, a lot of people say that, and they still do it. So we divide through by negative 4. Again, I'm going to separate these out because it just is cleaner. And especially, and the other reason why you divide out separately is like, well, hold on a second. I'm going to come back to that. And then I get plus 1/2 a here. The other reason why I do that is that this is in a very graphable form. Graphable form. Okay, it's in something called that you will learn in a couple of units, y equals mx plus b form. And if it's as a fraction, it's not as easy to do that. So that's another reason why it's setting us up for that. So that's literal equations. That's literally all it is, nothing else. So you're just going to find your formulas. Actually, I forgot to do that. So solving for other. Actually, no, don't do that. I know you're doing it in pen. Write down multiple variables, because when you're looking for these, you're probably going to be like, literal equations isn't going to stand out, but you are going to say, wow, I've got more than one variable. So maybe if you have it written down as multiple variables, that'll be easier. So anyway, as always, like, subscribe. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing it for that reason. So anyway, hopefully you find it useful. Good luck on your test. Talk to you soon.